Hello everyone and welcome to our next card review for Boomsday Project. Pandemonium and I, we're going to be going over the Hunter class now, all the class cards. We've done Neutrals and Druid already, so check those out if you haven't. If you haven't been watching along, we're going to be rating everything on a 1 to 5 rating scale. 1 are your trash or unplayable cards, cards like Duskfall and Aviana. 2 are fringe playable or niche tech cards like Dire Frenzy or Marcy Horror. 3 are playable in some decks like Life Drinker. 4, staple in multiple decks. Good example is Houndmaster Shaw, which is just pretty good in most Hunter decks. 5 are your meta-defining decks. So these are these are cards that either define a deck, which is very relevant in the meta, or they are very prevalent in multiple decks across the meta. So a good example of this would be Shadowwalk, and obviously Shadowwalk Shaman is the big deck that card defines. So let us get started here. First off, we have Flark's Boomzooka. Flark's Boomzooka is a 8 mana legendary spell. Summon 3 minions from your deck. They attack enemy minions, then die.
So, we saw it on stream. Obviously, they had Katharina and whatnot, but I'm not sold. Like, it was 8 mana, and for your stuff to die.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for me when I first saw this card, I thought, I thought you would be able to at least control that. Like, I was thinking it would be like an end of turn death.
Yeah.
But the fact that they just kind of randomly attack and you actually have no control over that, it's really weird. So I'm not a big fan of Flark's Boomzooka. There's maybe some kind of fringe synergies with like Abominable Snowman. But the problem is you have no control over pulling that versus pulling the other cards. And like that's the only kind of resurrect type ability we have in Hunter. So overall, I think Flark's Boomzooka is a 1.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you there. I don't see it making any besides the memeiest of meme decks.
Yeah.
Right, the next card is Boommaster Flark. So we've talked about his Boomzooka, and now Boommaster Flark himself. He's a 7 mana 5/5 that has Battle Cry. Summon 4 0/2 Goblin Bombs, and these are the same 1 mana 0/2 Goblin Bombs that when they die deal 2 damage to your opponent.
Yeah, we saw them in the neutrals.
Yeah. We saw them in neutrals.
They are mechs.
They are mechs. So they do have obviously synergy with mechs, but the fact that they're 0/2, I think, makes them a lot harder to do anything with. You have to kind of dedicate cards and slots to making it work in terms of buffs. So for me, it's going to be quite an easy one, I will say.
I think Boommaster Flark has a little bit of potential because if you look at it, it's a lot of damage that you get. 7 mana 5/5, and you're getting 4 bombs that are dealing 2 damage each. So you're getting 13 damage overall. You just obviously have to find a way to make those bombs actually active. And if there's a deck that actually wants to play enough activators for the bombs, if they have like a critical mass of bomb generation cards, I think Boommaster Flark might be okay. Ultimately, though, I think it's going to be a 2, probably leaning closer to a 1. I mean, I'm going to go with a 2 just because I think Goblin Bombs might be slightly underrated right now, but okay. I don't think it's going to be better than most of the current Hunter decks.
Okay, so you give it a 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Goblin Bomb deck might be playable, but it's not going to be better than the other Hunter decks, so it's not going to see much play in the meta.
Sure.
Which kind of, to me, leaves it at a fringe card.
All right.
And then next up, we have another card for Hunter that synergizes with Death Rattles. We have Necromechanic. Necromechanic's a 5 mana 3/6 epic with your Death Rattles trigger twice. So good old Baron Rivendare effect. I mean, Baron Rivendare never really saw play much in his day. Do we think that Necromechanic is any better? And is this a better time for that effect? I think that's the bigger question here.
So I definitely think a 5 mana 3/6 is definitely better than a 4 mana 1/7. So I think stats wise, it's definitely better,
Okay.
but and it might synergize with the current Death Rattle Hunter.
Yeah.
Although I just feel, I mean, because you've got other sort of Death Rattle synergies at 5, is obviously Cube and Corpse Widow, and I'm not quite sure if this is better than those.
Yeah. I mean, when looking at the Death Rattle Hunter decks, I mean, there are some cards in there that are kind of flex slot cards, like Serenite Chain Gangs aren't super necessary. There's a few flex slots where you might be able to bring this in, but I'm just not sure how well it works. I mean, the big thing is combos, right? And there you're talking more like your Recruit Hunter decks. If
Yeah,
you can go like Katharina and play dead your Katharina, getting two possibly big beasts is great. But I mean, with Katharina in particular, the problem is your deck usually runs out of beasts before you can use all the Katharina death rattles and battle cries and play deads and all that. I don't know. I mean, Cube is the other one that's kind of sticks out. Mechanic into cubing something and play dead on the cube. But that means you have to be pretty far ahead on board because your Necro Mechanic has to
yeah.
stick. The other minion that you want to cube has to have stuck.
So I
And
just think this is
so,
very win more,
yeah.
right? This is a Happy
Yeah,
Christmas Land kind of card. So that's why for me, I think it's a 2. Maybe if it reaches a point in the meta where you need that extra value, right?
yeah. I think I'm going to have to go with a 2 as well. I think it's going to be tricky to make anything like this work. And it's probably just overkill for all of those decks. As you say, a bit win more.
So okay,
Goblin
is
Prank.
Goblin Prank. Goblin Prank is a epic spell, 2 mana epic hunter spell. It says give a friendly +3/+3 in rush. It dies at the end of the turn. So this kind of has sort of synergies with Death Rattle.
Yeah,
Most
but
notably the eggs.
I mean, to me, this is just a prank, bro. Like, the card seems pretty terrible. I mean, the a lot of people compared it to Power Overwhelming, but I don't know if that's as fair. I'd much rather pay one less mana for the not having to play the rush. I think it's actually almost comparable to Blessing of Might, where you give the minion plus
Sure.
3. Yes, with this case, it dies at the end, but with Blessing of Might, a lot of the times, if you ever trade, it's going to die. And Blessing of Might is a little bit better because you are actually, if you can go face with it, then you're still keeping the attack on the board and the minion on the board.
Yeah.
Whereas with Goblin Prank, the +3 health is pretty irrelevant. Only times it wouldn't be irrelevant is if you like Goblin Prank and then cube the target that survives the trade, so that you kind of avoid the rush. Oh, sorry, the dies at end of turn effect. And as for the rush, I think that's pretty uh, like overcosted here. If we think about paying 1 mana for the rush perspective, like I don't really want to pay 1 mana to rush my minion. Honestly, I, I I think it's pretty difficult to make Goblin Prank work in that kind of a sense.
Yeah. I mean, like, could this ever see play with like the eggs? Like Devilsaur egg. That's kind. I mean, that sees play. Is this
Yeah,
ever decent in that?
I think the answer is no. And for what I think because there's two much better ways to do it, being Play Dead and Terrascale Stalker. And the big thing with those decks is you actually want the eggs to stay on board because they help protect your board against AoE and they provide more of a threat because you're threatening to cast more Terrascale Stalkers, more Play Deads, and those kind of things on them. Whereas Goblin Prank forces you to actually trade off the egg. And so
Yeah.
these kind of activators that actually actively kill your death rattles are not anywhere near as good as the ones that can activate your death rattles without actually having to kill off those minions. So I think Goblin
Yeah.
Prank is a 1 because I think that in any kind of death rattle deck, Hunter would much rather play other cards, and I just don't think that the buff is worth it either.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give it a 2 because I think there might be the random where you need the buff is relevant. So like I'm gonna be a low spectre of 2.
I mean, I think the buff's best situation is actually an aggressive deck where you can play Goblin Prank on a minion that's already on board and go face. And then that's
But
just
but,
like a
but does it
bad
if
power overwhelming.
oh yeah, sure, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So next up we have Spider Bomb. Spider Bomb is one of the mech magnetic synergy cards for Hunter. It's a 3 mana 2/2 mech with magnetic. It's a rare and it also has Death Rattle, destroy a random enemy minion. So Your deadly shot ability on the death rattle here. The big problem I have with Spider Bomb is, sure, you can use it to buff one of your mechs that's on the board with the magnetic, with its magnetic ability, but ultimately you're not going to get good use out of the death rattle then, because you want to be trading it off. You want to be trading off the minion, and if you're trading off the minion into something, then you have to kill that other minion as well. Otherwise, you're kind of going to roll the dice on the death rattle. I mean, the ultimate scenario is they have two minions on board that you need to kill. You can spider bomb your minion to trade it off into the one. They both die, and then the death rattle kills the other minion. But all you've done there is 2 for 2 yourself anyway. So what's like that doesn't seem like a good result, right?
Yeah, the problem also is the fact that it's a 3-mana 2/2.
Yeah.
It's not the most appealing to play just by itself. I mean, especially Hunter has quite a lot of good 3 drop options. I mean, Animal Companion is obviously one of the stronger ones. I mean, you still have cards like Bear Shark, so you ask yourself, like...
Yeah.
Or you could just play actually Deadly Shot, if you actually, want to actually kill something that badly, right? So...
Yeah, I think the only
initially I thought it was decent.
Yeah, I think the only reason to play Spider Bomb is actually not for the magnetic stuff. It's if you can make use of the death rattle, right? Maybe with your Terrascale Stalkers and your Play Deads, but the return on a death rattle that kills an opponent's minion is much lower than the return on a death rattle that generates a board for you. Because generating boards is proactive, whereas killing your opponent's minions is reactive. So you're now relying on a specific game state where this is actually good, rather than having the proactive game state of generating 5/5s is generally pretty good. So that's the big difference there. I mean, maybe it's something that can come into those death rattle decks as a tech, maybe even just a one-off as to make further use of your activations. And in the mech decks, there is synergy with the next card we're going to be discussing, Fireworks Tech. But overall, I think Spider Bomb is a 2 at best.
Yeah, 2 for me as well.
So speaking of Fireworks Tech?
Fireworks Tech is a 2-mana, 2/1 rare minion. Battle Cry, give a friendly mech +1/+1. If it has Death Rattle, trigger it. So it's similar to Terrascale Stalker, except it's situational in the fact that it has to give the friendly mech +1/+, like it has to be targeting a friendly mech.
Yeah. So only mech death rattles. That's the
only
key
mech death rattles. Yeah. So when we saw this card spoiled, this basically is what I was like. The only way this is ever semi-good is with the card that turned out to be Mecharoo.
Yeah.
Basically, that was like when they spoiled this card, it was almost guaranteed that they were going to make a card like Mecharoo.
Yeah, a 1-mana 1/1 death rattle that summons a 1/1 mech. That's what the card we're talking about here. So Mecharoo into Fireworks Tech, you get a 2/2, a 1/1, and you can obviously trade that 2/2 off and turn that back into another 1/1. So that's one way of kind of fighting for the board early on with Hunter, which is traditionally something that's pretty important for Hunters to do.
So as good as that is, the problem is there's not that many other 1-mana mechs that you want to be playing on one. I mean, there's Skater Boy, which is the run with Rush. You don't really want to be playing that on turn 1.
Nope.
You got Faithful Lumi that is buffing another mech. You don't really want to be playing that on 1. So the problem with Fireworks Tech is like to get that dream curve of 1-mana mech into it is currently not going to be that easy to do, I don't think.
I think for me, Fireworks Tech as a curve card is just worse than going like Diamol into Crackling Razormaw. That's the big comparison here, right?
Sure.
I'd much rather do that. There's actually arguably more payoffs in Hunter for your Beast synergy than any of your Mech synergy anyway. Yeah. So the rest of your deck is a little bit better. And Diamol has just, a pretty decent chance of sticking on the board, whereas the Mecharoo, at least having whatever it is, the 1/1 mech, that even if it
Mecharoo
sticks, or if it just summons the Joey bot, Fireworks Tech on the Joey bot is pretty underwhelming when you're not actually getting the death rattle as well.
Yeah, I mean, 2-mana for 3/2 stats, spread across 2 bodies, not that great.
No. So I think I'm going to give Fireworks Tech a 2. I think that it is the main reason to play death rattles. I think the other death rattle that's quite interesting with it is Meat Wagon. Meat Wagon is also a mech.
Yeah.
In this case, you're giving it +1/+1, so you can get 2 attack minions out of your deck. It works in a way like an egg, but an egg that's summoning minions from your deck instead. And of course, if you're playing Meat Wagon, you might well play eggs as well. But then the question you ask yourself is Fireworks Tech better than the Terrascale Stalkers, the Playdeads? I'm not sure. If there is a deck that can make sense of Meat Wagon and make Meat Wagon work, then that's kind of where Fireworks Tech might be at its strongest, I think.
Okay. Because what then the Meat Wagon, when it dies, will be able to bring back. It brings your eggs, and what one attack minion? What one attacks do you have in that sort of deck though?
I mean, it's probably like the Joey bots and stuff like that.
Sure.
There's not that many great ones, but like the other thing is that Meatwagon is a target for other magnetic cards. That's the key there, because you can kind of buff it up with cards like War Gear, the 5-mana 5/5 magnetic.
Sure.
And then you can start pulling out big things from your deck. The problem is that some of these minions that you put in, like Fireworks Tech or any situational minions, sometimes make your Meat Wagons worse because they can pull out bad minions too. So I don't know. It's tricky, I think, to find a balance in that deck, but it is a deck that I think has a little bit of possibility. Ultimately, though, probably not stronger than the current Hunter builds.
That's always the problem with these sort of things, right? It's like as good as some decks or cards might be, it's like, is it going to be better than what's currently existing? And a lot of times it's very difficult to be able to say yes, it will be, right?
Yeah. So I'm gonna give Fireworks Tech a 2.
Yeah, Fireworks Tech 2 for me. Then the final rare Hunter card we're talking about is Cyber Tech Chip. 2-mana rare spell. Give your minions Death Rattle. Add a random mech to your hand. So I think there's a previous card called Infest from a previous set where it added random beasts to your hand. Now, do you want to be paying 2 mana firstly to do basically nothing, and secondly to add a random mech to your hand?
Nope. The effect is very underwhelming. You have to be pretty far ahead on the board or have a pretty big board to make it work, first of all, just to get enough value out of it. And then secondly, random mechs suck. Like, most of the mechs in the set are not that good. They're very specific, and mechs suck. Like, I'd rather have random beasts, and Infest was bad. Cybertech Chip is bad. I mean, I don't think that we have to say much more about it. I think it's just a 1.
Yeah, a 1.
And then next up we have Bomb Toss. Bomb Toss is a 2-mana spell, deal 2 damage, summon a 0/2 Goblin Bomb. So, it looks kind of cool. You deal 2 damage that can go face, can be used on a minion. You get a bomb, deal damage, get a minion. But if you actually think about it, like, would you ever pay 2 mana for a 0/2 that dealt 2 damage? I think the answer to that is pretty much no.
Pretty much no, sure.
And this is just Arcane Shot shoved with a Goblin Bomb, literally.
Actually, yeah. Actually, when you put it like that, because initially I thought, hey, this is not too bad, because I was thinking when I compared it to On the Hunt, when I was thinking of On the Hunt, but then when you put it like that, I'm like, actually, wait, no. I mean, would you even play this for 1 mana?
For 1 mana, I would definitely.
As an upgrade to Arcane Shot.
Yeah. I mean, look, Arcane Shot sees a play in the Spell Hunter deck. Currently, so the question is, would this replace it? I don't think it would, because the Spell Hunter deck is going to struggle to actually get use of synergy with the Goblin Bomb. Like, it's just going to be a 0/2 that sticks on the board for a while and nothing happens. I mean,
hopefully you tempt your opponent to trading, right?
Yeah, I mean, okay, the only synergy it gets with it is Leok from Animal Companion and To My Side. That's the synergy with Goblin Bomb, which doesn't seem, worth it. So, I mean, I'd rather still play Arcane Shot, and I think there's another Hunter card coming up that I'd rather play over Arcane Shot or Bomb Toss in that deck. So, maybe Bomb Toss works specifically and only in the Goblin Bomb deck, just as a way to generate a Goblin Bomb, whilst still, having at least a decent-ish tempo turn. But ultimately, I actually think Goblin Bomb is a 1. Even though maybe it sees play in that deck, but I think that deck is pretty bad, and it's not a reason I want to play that deck. So I still think Bomb Toss is a 1.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 2 for that. For that reason, the fact that it might see play in the bomb, if a bomb deck becomes a thing, this is probably gonna feature it. So
yeah,
but yeah, I don't like it. yeah, the more I think about it, the more I realize why it's actually not as good as I thought it was.
Yeah, I mean, putting two cards together, in the sense that this is Arcane Shot plus Goblin Bomb is usually good, but when that one of those cards is Goblin Bomb, that makes it significantly worse.
Sure. And then we talk about, I think one of the better hunter cards, I think. Venomizer is a 2-mana, 2/2 common mech, which is magnetic and poisonous. So this is definitely, I think, a solid mech, compared to I think, yeah, 2-mana, 2/2's not great. I don't think it's terrible, though. It's serviceable. It's got one less health than Emperor Cobra, and Emperor Cobra never saw play. Is the fact that it has magnetic and it's a mech good enough to make it good, though?
I mean, it's also cheaper than Emperor Cobra.
Sure, yeah,
Emperor
1
Cobra
mana
is
cheap.
3, but I mean,
Yeah.
we also have Venom Strike Trap, right? That we can play to get an Emperor Cobra essentially, and that's 2 mana. I mean, the other
Sure.
comparison to make with this is Stubborn Gastropod. Gastropod, you're getting the taunt, but you're not necessarily getting the magnetic. So I think if a mech deck is viable, Venomizer becomes decent.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I don't really think it is great. Most of the time, Gastropod saw play was in Even Warlock specifically as a way to answer Giants.
Because it has taunt.
Preemptively. Well,
That's fair.
it answered Giants preemptively. Actually, the taunt had nothing to do with it.
Oh,
And then
right, yeah.
you would just as likely play a 2-mana 2/2 without the taunt in that deck as you would the Gastropod.
Sure.
But yeah, ultimately, I don't think that this card will actually see any play. I'm actually just going to give it a 2 because I don't believe in the Mech Hunter stuff as much. And even though, as you say, this is one of the better reasons to do it, I still think a 2-mana 2/2 is pretty underwhelming for Hunter, which is not a class that can really afford to lose the board early on.
Yeah. I have to agree with you there. So moving on to the... Oh, no. Do you want to tell us the last hunter card?
Yeah, you're also giving Venomizer a 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Secret Plan is the final Hunter card. So this is a 1-mana spell, Discover a Secret. I think this is a card I'd rather play in my Secret Hunter than Arcane Shot, and that's about as far as Secret Plan goes. We don't have much Secret synergy outside of the Spellstone in Standard anymore, with
the bow.
Cloaked Huntress having left. Yeah, and the bow, of course. So, I mean, in that deck, it's another way to find a secret. You can pick a secret that's more specific to your matchup. I think a lot of the times it's going to be better than playing Arcane Shot. And you can more reliably buff your Spellstone, which is the big key part of the Secret Hunter, really.
Yep. And yeah, so what you gonna give it?
I think it's like a 2. I don't even think you would necessarily always play it in Secret Hunter. It's not an auto include. I think it gets cut from the deck a lot of the time. But it's something that can help a little bit. So it's a 2, but like maybe one of the better 2s.
Yeah. Also, I think I'm going to give it to, because I think what we have seen though is the fact that Discover is a really powerful effect, especially like out of your deck, and so I think it might see a bit of play. But the problem, what deck wants it besides Spell, the Spell Mage? The Spell Hunter. I don't think Death Rattle mid range doesn't really want it. Mech Hunters probably don't want it. So
yeah, having the flexibility of being able to pick the right secret helps, but I just don't know how many decks actually care about that secret right now.
Yep, so it's a 2.
Okay, so moving on to our deck lists. First, we're going to be looking at a Mech Hunter. We both kind of built Mech Hunters. This was ultimately the one that's on Pandemonia's page, though, on Hearthstone Top Decks. So if you want to go find it there, that'll be the link to follow in the description. You want to tell us a little bit about all the new mechs that we've got included in this deck? Obviously, quite a few, because it is obviously a Mech Hunter.
So yeah, basically it was trying to jam in as many of the solid, decent mechs. So you see, Mecharoo, upgradable frame bot, Fireworks Tech, Venomizer, sort of your early game mechs. Then sort of we had quite a bit of discussion on the 3-drop space. Ended up deciding to go for Bronze Gatekeeper, the 1/5 with Taunt, just to act as a big roadblock. I mean, if you can put it on the frame bot, it's like a 2/8. No, 2/10.
2/10.
It's 2/10 Taunt.
Yeah.
Bronze, I mean, the Nightmare Amalgam because it's every tribe. It's essentially it's a spider tank for this purpose,
Yep, it's a mech.
which is solid. And then we moved like a little more expensive, like the Coppertail Imposter. It's a pretty good, especially for Coppertail Imposter into war gear. I think is going to be quite a powerful play. I think a lot of times, and even now that I think the big turn, like even Giggling Inventor,
Yep.
it could be quite with like war gear. You give yourself two mechs, so you spread in a few mechs like wide, so it might mean that you get more likely to get your buffs on it.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is that war gear makes me want to build this deck in an aggressive fashion, and that's why it's so low curving here. We've even got like the Leroy in for some extra burst. Ultimately, I think when you slap war gear on a minion, when you're using its magnetic portion, you want to be going face. Like if you go Coppertail Imposter into war gear, you really don't want to trade into their minion with your 9/9 because you're
Yeah.
susceptible to silence, single target removal, all these kind of things. You want to go face and get that 9 damage in. And that encourages me to want to build this deck in a more aggressive way, which is also where like Eaglehorn Bow is pretty good. It's efficient damage, right? It's 3 mana, 6 damage. That's pretty good for you. Giggling Inventor is actually really good at just protecting your other minions so they can go face because it puts up those Annoyatrons, which are going to take 4 attacks just to get through the Annoyatrons.
Yep, very annoying indeed. So
Yeah,
yeah,
so I think that's kind of where I see this deck, it being a much more aggressive deck. I'm personally not that big a fan of Bronze Gatekeeper, but ultimately you had the final say on this deck. I think the big issue I have with Bronze Gatekeeper is that it's just a worse Tar Creeper a lot of the times because it's difficult to kind of get that magnetic to be meaningful. You're basically using it to heal another minion and give it a little bit of attack and taunt. Uh, and the targets are just not that great. I mean, the best target is Venomizer, I think. Getting the 3/7 poisonous taunts is pretty good, but
yeah,
Framebot makes me go meh. Like in a deck that I want to be aggressive on, I don't really want 2/10 taunts.
yeah. I mean, there's always the potential. I mean, if you want to do that, if you can try and make a combo with Void Reaper,
Void Ripper, yeah.
Void Ripper. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we can go rippy flippy with it for some more damage, I suppose.
But yeah, for the meanwhile, this is the mech. I mean, we'll have to see if these mechs are good enough. But also, in like the following sets, so they release a couple mechs with the next expansion.
Yeah. Um, my first attempt at Mech Hunter actually also had Meatwagon in, but eventually kind of cut it. Because, once again, that synergy with Fireworks Tech that we talked about and kind of curving 4 mechs into 5 mechs. And I think we'll discuss it a little bit more with Paladin, I think, where I actually feel like Magnetic is going to be at its strongest. But I'm not convinced that this is going to be better than our current, like, Egg and Recruit Hunters. Or possibly, I think this is more along the lines of Spell Hunter power level. It
Sure.
might be a slightly more reliable aggro deck than Odd Hunter, weirdly enough.
Okay. You're that much that confident in it.
Yeah, I mean Odd Hunter's pretty bad, so
Oh, sorry. For some reason, I thought you said Odd Hunter. Now, Odd Hunter makes sense. Sorry,
yeah,
my brain
Odd,
is.
Odd Hunter's pretty bad. And next up, moving to another aggressive deck, which is probably pretty bad, and that is our Boom Boom Hunter, as I'm calling it here. This is the
Oh boy.
Goblin Bomb themed deck. So we've got some cards that I rated as ones in this deck, which is probably a bad sign. We've got Bomb Toss, we've got Goblin Prank. This Goblin Prank is just so that I can prank my bombs and make them go face, and then they'll go face again when they die. That's really all it's about, getting an incidental damage with your bombs. Void Ripper as a rippy flippy damage smacky. Coppertail Imposter, just because that Coppertail Imposter War Gear Ziliax, we've got that combo here again. With the added addition of Explodinator. Explodinator is a 4 mana 3/2 that summons 2 Goblin Bombs. So I think that gives you a good curve into your Fungalmancer's War Gears. Like, that's probably the most standout Goblin Bomb generating card in this deck, honestly. And that's not a Hunter card, but yeah, ultimately, I think Hunter's the deck that can maybe make the best use of the aggressiveness of it. So I'm not convinced that this deck is very good, but if you happen to open a Boommaster Flock, then you can always try it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure if they will add, if it's possible to even add more support for them later on. I
Yeah.
mean, because the whole Goblin Bomb seems to be quite a like, expansion specific mechanic in a way.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think it's something we'll see much support for in the future, unless it's in the form of other magnetic minions, right?
Sure.
Yeah, because I mean that's obviously one of the targets for Goblin Bomb. So overall, how are we feeling about Hunter? Um,
And it's not nearly as well off as Druid.
okay, but let's not be
Uh,
comparing every class to Druid because Druid is
I would say it's
ridiculous
average to
crazy.
not good. Like I would definitely, for me, it's on the sort of negative side of the middle.
Okay,
So
yeah,
I
that
don't.
seems fair.
I mean, I think some of the current archetypes might still see play with a bit of tweaking, but like I'm not completely sold on like Mech Hunter or like Goblin Bomb Hunter quite yet.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I mean, to me, I think that the current Hunter decks are probably better than the new ones we'll see.
Yeah,
Maybe they see a little bit of, uh, a power increase, and maybe some of these cards can find a way into them. But overall, I'm not really sure that that's going to happen. So I think overall, Hunter is probably just going to trot along. Death Rattle Hunter, I think, still has space to grow and improve as a deck, even with the current existing cards, and not necessarily even needing to add new cards. So I think that that deck can still be pretty decent, and Recruit Hunter's not bad. So Hunter, I think, will be okay, but it's not really increasing in power level, I feel, with this expansion.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so if you want to find the deck lists, make sure you check out the description. We're going to have links there to our Hearthstone Top Decks pages where you can find all the deck lists for all the classes. And also, we'll have a link to the Excel spreadsheet with all of the ratings that we've been giving so far. And if you happen to be watching this whilst we're still recording the rest of the videos, you can actually see some of the ratings that we might have given on some of the other cards as well. So a little bit of a spoiler alert in there. Otherwise, make sure you check out the rest of the videos. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. You know what to do if you're watching lots of YouTube videos. Thanks a lot, everyone. And we'll see you at the next review.